This is the Craft of Coaching podcast, where you'll learn about how to become a life coach with a strong skill set through understanding the craft of coaching. I'm Kate Swoboda, a coach, author, and director of training for the Courageous Living Coach certification at teamclcc.com. Learn more about our program at teamclcc.com. That's teamclcc.com. And now here's today's episode. Hey everybody, it's Kate, and today I am going to be getting so candid with you about a topic that I think I want to talk about because I want to prepare newer coaches, and I also want to give support and encouragement to more established coaches. So the topic for today is the hardest part of running your coaching business, and I'm going to be offering both here's what it looks like for me behind the scenes and what I know many of my colleagues go through and things like that, so that you know that you're not alone, also so that you can learn from my experience. And then I'm going to be offering 4 specific ways to deal with the hardest part of running your coaching business. So buckle up, because if you've been having a hard time, if you've been feeling like, I don't know what I'm doing, how can I ever do this, all of that, this is going to help with that today. Make sure you listen all the way through to the end, because first I'm going to talk about the problem itself and how hard it is to deal with that problem, how very real it is. And then I'm going to be talking about some strategic reframes that you need to navigate this space in your coaching business. It is a space that I promise you reaps rewards if you decide to go all the way through it. So here it is. So the hardest part, first I'll talk about what it's not, okay? The hardest part of running your coaching business, and I'm speaking as someone, I have been a coach since 2006. I'm director of training for teamclcc.com, the Courageous Living Coach certification, and I have helped hundreds of coaches to launch into the coaching space at this point. And so I've heard a lot about what they say, this is hard and things like that. I've also had a lot of contact with kind of insider info, people who have made multiple 6 figures as coaches, things like that. And I'll be talking about that today. And it truly is all coming down to this one thing. So the hardest part of running your coaching business is not figuring out what to name your signature offering, or how to price things, or even how to coach your clients. And if you are a newer coach and you're thinking, God, the coaching part is the hard part, holding that space, knowing what questions to ask, all of that, I promise you will get so much more skillful around coaching just through the virtue of working with clients. So the hardest part is not those things. The hardest part is not scheduling, actually. I know people can struggle with time management, but I promise the hardest part is actually not figuring out how to have your full-time job or be a stay-at-home parent while also juggling client sessions. That is hard. You will get used to it. The hardest part is not what other people in your regular life think. People who, frankly, don't have the guts. If they're critical of you, they're critical because they don't have the guts for a career pivot into coaching or starting a business or any of that. The hardest part of coaching is not figuring out what sort of content you want to create or your message for the world. In fact, that is often one of the most fun parts of coaching, is creating content. If you are already somebody who you would say you're a thinker, you like to read books and you wish you could have the larger discussions with context and nuance and all of that, like you're so there for coaching, you're going to do great with creating content. The hardest part of running your coaching business is this: navigating your insecurity long-term. And hold with me on this, because if you're thinking, I'm not an insecure person, Kate, this doesn't apply to me. Let me talk to you, because I'm not an insecure person either. So I have made, like in just 1 year, multiple 6 figures as a coach myself. I have also been in multiple private masterminds with people who are making multiple 6 figures. Like many 6 figures just in 1 year. I have inked book deals. I have gone on book tours. I have several colleagues who have as well. And I keep pointing out that it's me and colleagues, because I want you to know that I'm not just the the N of one. I'm not just the person in the experiment of all of this, and it's just my personal experience, and that's all. There's more to it than that. I've stood on stages at conferences. I've been a speaker. I've been hired into organizations to run corporate trainings. I've done group coaching programs. I've run evergreen programs. I've run self-paced programs. In the private masterminds that I've been in, and I'm talking about unpaid, informal masterminds where we were just a group of successful coaches and we said, you know what, let's get together, support each other, pull back the kimono, share with each other the different things that we're experiencing and things like that. When we're in that situation, I hear the echoes of the same things that I struggle with or am challenged by. And again, it comes back to how do we navigate insecurity long term? So carry this with you as you're putting together this discussion, and carry it with you like nothing else. Entrepreneurship is one of the greatest personal growth experiences that you can have. So you say you're a coach, you believe in personal development for yourself and for your clients. Is that the truth? You love the work of growth and examining the human experience? You want for yourself and for your clients to transcend beyond fear, to become more confident, to go after their big dreams? This won't happen from the cheap seats. This won't happen for you without a cost. When you're in the thick of it, what it feels like is that the cost is too much. It feels crushing. Insecurity, the experience of insecurity is really hard. And it will feel like the cost is too much, and that's your fear and insecurity speaking. If you stay with it long enough, meaning moving through that insecurity, not pushing it away, not quitting coaching because it's too much, not, you know what, I need to dial it back and I'm just not going to work on marketing for a while. Not, you know what the decisions are for you that are taking the back door, cutting a corner. You know somewhere deep within you what the truth is and what it looks like to try to cut a corner, not have to deal with a thing, and it's at the expense of something larger. You know what that feels like. If you stay with this long enough and manage to navigate that insecurity, what it will actually cost you is actually the stuff you wanted to lose anyway. When you're stuck in the fear, you think what it's costing you is, I'm so overwhelmed, so it's costing me my peace. I'm needing to invest money in a tech stack, so it's costing me money. I am feeling a lack of confidence when I coach people, so it's costing me, again, peace. I'm pushed into this discomfort. It's costing me too much to be in this discomfort. That is what your fear will tell you. But what actually happens when you stay with the insecurity and work with it actively is that what you lose is the fear of not being enough, the fear that it will cost too much, the fear that you won't make it, the fear that your work isn't good, whatever that is for you. If you stay with the insecurity and work with it actively, you arrive at the other side. And that's when the real magic in your business can happen. And this is true, I believe, of absolutely every entrepreneur out there. I don't care if you're a life coach, if you're starting a restaurant, if you're writing books, if you're, whatever your version of this is. If you currently have never, ever felt insecure about something, about the quality of your work, does anyone even care about the content I'm putting out there? What if no one signs up for my launch or comes to my thing? Or, what's happening with my follower count, my newsletter opens, or any other metric? Well, then get ready, because eventually you will feel this, and it's okay. Now, experiencing insecurity does not mean that you are an insecure person. Everyone experiences insecurity. Insecure people do things like bash on other people to make themselves feel better. And I would say that deciding to quit altogether, not because it isn't an aligned choice, but because you're allowing the insecurity to win, can start to put you into that place where you're operating from a fundamentally insecure place, and you're in an era where you are an insecure person. You can come out of that era, but making choices that align with your fear and your insecurity, it leads to feeling more insecure and being a more fearful person. But experiencing insecurity is going to happen to everyone. It's not a permanent state. It's not a way of being for you. And it's going to look kind of like this. You finally figure out how to market to your right people, and you've got a good flow going with that. So you duplicate those efforts, and then something changes. Maybe a new technology emerges or a new social media platform. Maybe there are market headwinds that you could never have anticipated. So the insecurity, when you're feeling frustrated and challenged, is a sense of, God, it's like 2 steps forward and 1 step back, and I feel like I don't know what I'm doing. Or you participate in some networking opportunities with various other coaches online, and you think you've got some good relationships and networking happening. It's great. Then you notice a few times where some of those same people get together for dinner, and they post some pictures, or they start a podcast together, or they collaborate in some way. And you start wondering to yourself, well, why didn't they ask me? Do they think my work isn't good enough? Do they think I don't have a strong enough audience to, collaborate, or, that kind of stuff comes up. Or you create something and launch it, and then realize that either someone else is doing something similar to you, but they appear to be far more successful, or worse, someone else is copying your work and changing it just enough to think that they're getting away with it. And the insecurity here is in feeling like, what do I do? How do I handle that? How can I have worked so hard to create something original and specific, only to have someone else come in and piggyback off of it in less time and with less effort than I had to put in? So these are the experiences of insecurity. And at some point, everyone will hit those experiences. The first time you experience insecurity, it's brutal, but you will figure out a way to move past it. Probably second, third, fourth, fifth time too. And I also want to say the insecurity is the strongest at the beginning of the journey, because there's just so many things to feel insecure about. What do I want to do as a coach? How do I want to be on social media? There's so many decisions, and the experience of insecurity comes from feeling like you want to make all the right decisions and you're not sure if they're the right decisions. And it will take some time for you to learn, like, okay, I just need to make a decision and go. I just need to call my coaching package or program or book or whatever. I just need to call it something and move forward. And if I want to change it later, I can. And I actually have some Craft of Coaching podcast episodes coming up with some coaches who I have known for a really long time who have changed their business names, their business models. And I explicitly wanted to talk to them about that experience, because I know that the pressure for a newer coach to try to get all the things in place and feel like you have to pick the right things is really high. So that will be coming as well. What gets hard, the hardest part of running your coaching business, is when you think that you're going to hit some point where you won't feel the insecurity anymore, and then you still do. It takes time for this experience of insecurity to take a toll on you. There's an expectation that nearly every coach I've ever met subconsciously holds, and I am raising my hand on this one, that thinks it's a little bit hard now, but I'm going to stick with it, and eventually I'm going to feel like I know what I'm doing. And I gotta say, for those of you who are parents, there's kind of a parallel there with parenting. I am a parent, and every age that my daughter has been in, there's been something new to figure out that I'm kind of like, whoa, did not see that coming. Not sure how to handle that one. So it takes time for the insecurity to take a toll. And my aim today is hoping that if I talk about this so candidly, you'll know that it's not just you, that myself and every other coach you've ever met regardless of what their metrics look like, regardless of how experienced and successful they seem, they have experienced the same thing. And if you know that you're not alone in this, then you're more likely to understand these two incredibly important things about life. One, in life, whether you become an entrepreneur or not, this feeling of discomfort, insecurity, is the price of admission for going after your dreams. And two, that if you are willing to use entrepreneurship, running your coaching business as a vehicle for overcoming this insecurity, you will experience some pretty epic personal power. Now, I mentioned I've been a coach since 2006. I've been director of Team CLCC.com since 2014. I have been thrown curveballs over the years that I could never have imagined, and each time I felt out of my depth, insecure. Why didn't this launch go as planned? I put effort into that podcast episode or social media post and no one seemed to care. Does it mean no one cares about my work? I've done and experienced all of it. And I am speaking to you about this from that place of having seen and done so many of these things. But the thing is, you will become stronger and more resilient on the other side of all of that fear and doubt and insecurity. It's the old saying of there's no way out but through. If you start your coaching business and you go at it for a year and you don't see any progress, it's not a sign that you should quit. It's a sign that you need to change up something about what you're doing. By the way, don't go a year without seeing progress, okay? You should see some kind of incremental progress, some 2 steps forward, 1 step back, some kind of like, okay, I had 1 client at the start of this, now I have 3. 3 isn't enough to pay all your bills, but you went from 1 to 3, okay? So I don't know what the thing is that you need to change unless I'm consulting with you one-on-one. And by the way, usually I only take on private life coaching clients to work on their personal growth, but just recently I did open up 3 spots for strategic business operations and marketing support, and that's over at teamclcc.com/business. Nonetheless, from working with clients over the years, I wanted to give you the top 4 things that you can do to manage the hardest part of running your coaching business. These 4 things are the things that I remind myself of when I experience insecurity. They are coaching tools that you probably will recognize using with your clients. They are things that I know my colleagues in the coaching industry have used to try to bounce back from a bad launch or a difficult business experience. So here they are. First one, you need to decide to stop straddling the boat and the dock. The boat and the dock is one of my favorite metaphors. This is a metaphor I use with my private coaching clients, and it's this. You're standing on a lake, there's like a little dock that goes out, there's like a little canoe on the lake, whatever it is. You cannot maintain having 1 foot on the dock and 1 foot on the boat forever. You either need to stay on the dock or you need to get in the boat. Both choices are valid. I am not here to tell you that it is always the choice to get in the boat and sail the seas. Nope. Sometimes in life, people make really incredible choices to simply stay on the dock for a little while longer, and I'm not going to shame them or tell them that they're doing it wrong, okay? You need to stay on the dock or get in the boat because straddling the two is what will drain your energy. So you need to decide that you are all in on your business or you're all out, but you aren't halfway. This mirrors your private client work, by the way. This is why I'm saying that entrepreneurship is an incredible self-development journey. You have probably supported a client who was trying to make a big decision, and you saw how they either, let's say they're trying to decide to move to a different city. To try to decide to move to a different city and put your energy behind that is one thing. To decide to stay in your existing city and put your energy into making that experience better is one thing. To try to stay in your existing city while you don't quite like it, but you want to make it better, while you also simultaneously kind of sort of move in the direction of trying to plan to move to a different city, but you're not quite actually really putting, you see what I mean? It's chaos. It's chaos. You need to make a decision and follow it just like your clients do. Next thing, track what you're accomplishing each week. And accomplish sounds like such a big word. I get it. But I'm really just talking about tracking the basics. Track how many clients you see. Track how many pieces of content you create. Track how much time you invested in learning something new about your craft or about marketing. Track how you spend your time. And the reason that I'm saying this is because when you are caught in doubt and insecurity and fear, those voices are going to come up saying, what did you even do this week? You didn't make any money. You didn't make enough money. And it's like you need something where you can go, okay, yeah, I didn't make thousands of dollars this week, but what I did do was this. Okay? And I'm actually going to tie this into my fourth point in just a moment. And this track what you're accomplishing each week mirrors your private client work. Clients often track their progress on things or utilize coaching practices between sessions and come back after a session to say, here's what I worked on. When I'm working with clients long term, most coaches, I don't think this is so very different. You're setting some sort of goal or a desired outcome with your clients at the beginning of the time together. Most coaches have a minimum amount of time that they want to work with people. And with that minimum amount of time to work with people, let's say 3 months, at some point, hopefully at the halfway point, you're checking in with your client and going, how are things going? And then when you get that 3-month point, hopefully you're debriefing and going, okay, where are you now that is a progress point from 3 months ago? And yeah, your client might continue to work with you and stuff like that, but some kind of way of saying, here's what I worked on. So again, entrepreneurship is an incredible personal growth experience. Will you yourself be as accountable to you as you would ask your clients to be to themselves? The third thing you need to do to make it through these times where you're experiencing insecurity, commit and be consistent. Commit and be consistent. If you are working a full-time job and you've decided that how you're going to work your side hustle as a coach is to work from 5 a.m. to 7 a.m. before you get ready for work, stick to that. If you say you're going to get a newsletter out to people once a month, stick to that. If you say you're going to create 5 90-second videos for YouTube each week, stick to that. Whatever it is that you are committing to, understand the commitment, the time, and then stick to it. And do this because nothing throws gasoline on insecurity quite like knowing that you didn't follow through. Think about that for a minute. If you're already feeling some level of insecurity about where's this business going and what am I doing and how's it going to pan out, when you start letting go of commitment and consistency, that's when your head's really going to go, yeah, and you can't even stick to da-da-da-da-da. You told yourself you were going to, and then look at you. You didn't, so you're really not cut out for that. Like that critic will go crazy with a little bit of inconsistency. And this mirrors your client work. And this is why entrepreneurship is such an incredible personal growth practice, because you need to commit and be consistent just as much as your clients do to see success. And I know you've worked with a client before who hasn't been committed and hasn't been consistent, and it was so easy for you to see, they could do this if only they would commit and get consistent. And then when they don't, that's when they have the roadblocks. It makes it harder. So you commit and be consistent. All right, fourth thing for navigating experiences of insecurity, the hardest part of running your coaching business. And this ties into point 2. When I said I was going to tie these together with tracking what you're accomplishing each week, it is tied to this point. Reframe the slower periods in your business as planting seeds that will bear fruit at some point, but you can't pull them out of the ground too early. If you were to literally plant a seed in the ground on a Wednesday and it had not sprouted by Friday, you wouldn't say that the seed is failing. You would understand that it just takes time. And I did some surveying of our crowd, our coaches, and found that on average, it takes about 1 year to 2 years for coaches to find regular income that replaces their salaried income. This might be a bit faster these days since there has been an explosion of coaching within organizations, and now many organizations exist that are hiring coaches, which is really nice because you don't have to spend as much time trying to find clients. The organizations are there to say, we have clients who need coaches. How often are you available? Nonetheless, there's always some ramp up time. And this is why entrepreneurship is such an incredible personal growth practice. Just like your clients who go through hard times and cannot see the forest for the trees, just like when you practice reframing a difficult experience with them, you need to practice it with yourself. So the reframe I suggest is, if things are slower in your business right now, see it as this is a time for me to plant seeds that will grow. So those are the 4 things that will help you to navigate this insecurity. And another powerful personal growth practice I want to offer for you is to decide that you are committed enough that you are going to make development of your coaching business into a long-term investment. And this is like investing for retirement. And I'm not even talking about figuring out something that's a little more complex, like trying to time the stock market. I'm talking about just a little bit invested into, say, a savings account. A little bit more, a little bit more, a little bit more invested over time. And at first, the returns are not much on a savings account, but eventually there's some momentum as things compound. And just like the economy fluctuates, so does a savings account and how much of a return is put in. So make the decision to be a coach primarily to be about how much you want your life's breath and your life's legacy to be about helping people live better lives. Because if that is where you prioritize, then that's the place where you can always win. That's the place where you can always look back and be able to say, I did something I am really proud of. And I promise you, it would shock you how short-lived the gratification is of making a lot of money. And I am not crapping on making a lot of money. I love money and money loves me, and I've made quite a bit of money over the years of running my business, and I look forward to making a lot more. I've got no shame about a desire to leverage my business to become wealthy, and I would love for that to happen for you too. I understand the assignment. I am not saying that money comes at the expense of meaning, or you can do something meaningful but don't expect or want to be wealthy. I am not saying that. I am 100% rooted in both spaces of doing meaningful work and wealth. Yet I'm telling you from personal experience, I'm telling you from working with other coaches, I am telling you that if you prioritize the number, if you think you'll finally feel like you've made it and won't feel any insecurity when you hit a certain number, the goalpost of that number will move. It'll move. You'll get there, and then it'll be like, oh, I'm not there yet, so maybe it's this other number. And then it's just a bad game to be involved in. It really creates some devastating feelings. And you did not get into this line of work only to be unhappy. I want you to be happy. So don't make hitting a certain financial metric your goalpost. Make a decision that every day, every client you coach or piece of content you put out, the priority is on how do I feel as I make my life's breath and my life's legacy to be about helping people to live better lives. You will not only be more gratified by that decision, but you will also feel less insecure and navigate experiences of insecurity more easily, because you'll see that every challenge you encounter is tied to something that has a larger purpose. And speaking from personal experience, this is also when you become wildly more successful. That is the paradox. All right, that's today's episode. Learn more about our program by going to teamclcc.com. That's teamclcc.com. You can get our catalog and also get the free Become a Coach video series to decide if our program and life coaching as a career is right for you. Hope to see you there.